So when Tim invited me to play Barber Violin Concerto with the orchestra last season, I was thrilled because it's one of my absolute favorite pieces, and it's always really spoken to me. I first heard it when I was 16 years old, and I was just instantly enamored. If you're not familiar with Samuel Barber, he's an American composer. When we think of American music, we often think of Aaron Copland. We think of Fanfare for the Common Man. We think of Billy the Kid. We think of Rodeo, like that tune from the Beef, It's What's for Dinner. So we're all very familiar with that. We're familiar with that kind of capturing the essence of soaring vistas and cowboys and kind of this Wild West feel. Samuel Barber certainly has some of that aesthetic in his music. And in this violin concerto, you will certainly hear especially that soaring vista feel. Over the summer, I started working on this piece, and I went way up north in Wisconsin where I don't get cell service, and that was pretty much the best thing ever. And I just wanted a few days to kind of just meditate on this piece and work on it and think about what it is and what it means. And one day I was kind of tired of staying inside and just practicing and looking at the score. And so I took a ferry to an island way out on Lake Michigan, and it was even further off the grid. Like, there was really no hope of getting any cellular signal in this place. And it was a gorgeous day, and I was thinking about the piece. I even brought my earbuds, and I was listening to it, and I was just looking out at this gorgeous landscape and this expanse and like the very specific North American colors, and I thought, wow, that is the first movement of this piece. That's what this is. That this piece captures that feeling so perfectly. A way in which Barber differs somewhat from Copland is that I find that Barber's music captures actually a little bit of a more complicated vision of America and almost a more human and personal feeling to it. And you'll hear that in the second movement. The second movement makes me cry every time. It starts with this just plaintive and exquisite oboe solo. And then the violin comes in, and it's very rhapsodic. It's painful. It's the kind of beauty that's exquisitely painful. And there are twists of the knife, and anytime you've felt anguish, but there's kind of an ecstasy to it, this movement is for you. A little bit of historical context here. This piece was written in 1939, and when Barber composed the first two movements, that soaring vista movement and that rhapsodic, complex movement, he was in Switzerland. He was in Europe writing and working on it. I imagine somewhat focusing out in nature in the way that I went out to Wisconsin and needed to be away from everything and everybody for a little while. But it was 1939, and before he had a chance to get to the third movement, it was recommended that Americans get out of Europe and go home. So he left, and the third movement can be interpreted, I think, two different ways. In the first way, I think that post 1939 and the terrible things that were happening in Europe, I mean, the world just changed, and the piece changes on a dime. It goes from lyrical and rhapsodic to driving and military and just explosive, really. The other way the other way to interpret that third movement is a little more lighthearted than that. He was writing this concerto specifically for a violinist, and that violinist was, of course, receiving drafts of the concerto and then writing back to Barber about what he thought about it. And of course, the first two movements, again, very lyrical, very melodic. And the violinist wrote back to Samuel Barber and said, I really, these pieces are beautiful. These movements are gorgeous. But, his ego, the ego of this violinist entered into it a little bit. He said, can the third movement please showcase my virtuosity? And I think that Barber was perhaps a little persnickety and maybe took that personally. And so the third movement is just like this insane moto perpetuo, doesn't stop, fast as you can play for like 4.5 minutes straight, and then it's over. And so they're kind of these, just to put the piece into both a historical context and a personal context. That is Barber Concerto, and it's got something for everyone. It's gorgeous, it's painful, it's exquisite, it's ecstatic, and then it's show-off stuff from the third movement to the end. I hope you'll enjoy it.